my Jankions, and welcome back to the Jank Lab. My name is Jimmy, the Mad Scientist, and Wave 4 is here, guys. So exciting. It's an exciting time for deck building. It's an exciting time for content creation, and I'm going to show you the first deck that I've built using Wave 4 cards. And I'm also collaborating with Jamie from Powered by Primus. I'm going to show you the deck, and he plans on playing some games with the deck in some of his gameplay videos. And then we may possibly do an update video a little bit later on if he finds that there are some cards that don't work quite right, or there are cards that he would rather have in the deck. But it's really awesome to be working with Powered by Primus. So Jamie, thank you very much. But with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the characters. And with Wave 4 coming out, there's a lot of love for characters that like white icons. And the first one that came to mind, my very favorite character from Wave 1, is Mirage. And Mirage is a car melee character. And in alt mode, it says, when you flip to this mode, you may play an action. And we will be using that a little bit in this deck. There's certain situations where you will want to flip him to play an additional action. But the main reason why we're playing Mirage, if you're not familiar with him, is in bot mode. It says, when this attacks for the first time each turn and you flip at least 3 white icons, you untap this. So untapping effects are very powerful in Transformers TCG, and Mirage is just exceptional. He may not look like he would be all that great because you need to flip 3 white icons, but when you have as many white icons in the deck as we do, he's going to be untapping a lot. And the next card that I'm going to show you also revolves around white icons, and that is Private Pteraxadon. And that's why this deck's actually called Pteraxadon Cena, because Mirage likes to disappear, and I just like the play on words. But anyway, in bot mode, which is the mode that he starts in, he doesn't have an ability. But we're not playing him for his bot mode. What we're playing him for is when he turns into a weapon. He is a Battlemaster, and in weapon mode, it says, when the upgraded character attacks and you flip at least 2 white icons, the defender's base defense becomes 0 during this battle. And then, of course, it says if this would leave the battlefield, put it into your KO area instead, and it gives you +3 attack. Now, when it says the defender's base defense becomes 0, that's just the value that's printed on their character card. If they have defense provided by, secret actions or upgrades, it doesn't reduce that to 0. But still, reducing any amount of defense that the opponent will have is awesome. But it works really cool with Mirage because, if you attack with Mirage and you flip 3 white icons, not only is Mirage untapping, but you're also triggering the binary Edgewing Scythe. So you're going to be attacking for 8 and reducing their armor to 0 on their character card. That's incredible. So, looking at the Wave 4 characters, there was one character in particular that I knew I was going to use in this deck, and it is basically what makes this deck viable, and that is Private Vanguard. He is also a Battlemaster, and can't really read it too well, but it says, when one of your other characters defends and you flip at least 1 white icon, that character can't take more than 5 attack damage this battle. That is stupid good, especially in a deck like this, because we're basically, while he's in this mode on the table, we're basically giving all of our characters a 5 damage force field until he leaves for every single attack. That's really great. Now, when he is KO'd, he becomes the anti-ballistic turret helmet. It's a helmet with guns on it. I mean, that's awesome. But when it becomes an armor, it says, when you put this on a character, do 1 damage to a tapped enemy. So, because this is getting KO'd, obviously they are going to have a tapped enemy, of course, unless it's like Mirage or something who will untap, but we're going to be doing 1 damage to somebody when we attach this. And then, of course, it says if this would leave the battlefield, put it into your KO area instead. And it becomes an armor that gives us +2 defense. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so between the characters, we have 9 stars, 6 stars, and 5 stars. So we have 5 stars left that we can play with. And the character I decided to put in, one of Brian from Wrecking Rules favorites, Fireflight. We are only really going to be using him for his alt mode because while he's in alt mode, he has Brave. So this is really going to help us, dictate where our opponent is going to be attacking. So I'll explain that a little bit later after I reveal the battle cards, because there's one battle card in particular that's in this deck that really makes this deck very difficult to deal with. But we'll go ahead and look at his bot mode ability. And it says, while this has 4 or more damage counters, he has +1 attack. Don't think that's really going to happen very often because, he's going to be taken out before we're going to need that ability. But in case we need it, it is there. But we are pretty much going to be keeping him in this mode. Okay, so those are the characters. And now let's take a look at the battle cards. Okay, so like I said, this deck has a ton of white icons in it. And there are actually 32 cards that have white icons on them. So we're going to be flipping a ton of white in this deck, which, makes Mirage a lot more reliable. And, the math actually checks out too. So, if we want to flip 3 white icons, we need to have basically a 75% chance to flip those icons, which, 32 out of 40 is more than 75%. So the math works out. Now, that's not to say that you will never, have a situation where Mirage doesn't untap. It does happen. I mean, you could have, a deck with just 3 cards that don't have white icons, and there will be times where he doesn't untap. That's just, the way that it works, I guess. But we'll go ahead and start looking at the upgrades first. And the first upgrade is Spinner Rims. And it's an upgrade utility that says when the upgraded character attacks and you flip your first white icon, flip 1 extra battle card. So this happens on offense and defense. And it will, help us in those situations where, we flip 2 cards. One of them's white, one of them's not. And then we flip 2 more cards, and one of them is white and one of them is not. This will give us one more opportunity to flip that extra white icon that we need to untap Mirage. So I went ahead and put 3 copies of Spinner Rims in the deck. And the next card is one of the new toys from Wave 4, and that's Acute Reflexes. And it is also an upgrade utility. And it gives our character Focus 1. So we will be able to look at the top card while we're battling. And on offense, this will help us make sure that the first card that we flip is a white icon. And then it reads, when the upgraded character battles and you flip at least 1 white icon, it gets +1 attack and +1 defense until end of turn, or until the end of battle. So, this is going to help us on defense as well. Not really so much until we get Vanguard onto one of our other characters. So, with this and Vanguard as an armor, especially on Mirage, we can be defending for 5. And that's without flipping any blue icons. So that's pretty excellent. So I went ahead and put 3 copies of Acute Reflexes in the deck. And the next card is also a brand new battle card, and that is Sturdy Javelin. And it's an upgrade weapon that says while this is on a melee character, it has +2 attack. And when this is on a ranged character and it attacks, you scrap this card and you do 2 damage to the enemy. So this is actually kind of cool on Mirage because in alt mode, he is melee. So he'll get +2 attack if we decide to attack with him in car mode, which probably won't happen. We do have other melee characters in the deck. But when this is on a ranged character, which Mirage is a ranged character in bot mode, we'll be scrapping this card, and it says do 2 damage to an enemy, not the defender. So we can basically just, plasma burst somebody, which is really awesome. But because it has a white icon and it's, a really versatile card, we went ahead and put 3 copies of Sturdy Javelin in the deck. And the next card is an oldie but a goodie, and that is Piercing Blaster. It's an upgrade weapon that gives the upgraded character Pierce 3. So, this is good on Mirage, again, as well, because, he gets to untap, will be, piercing the tar out of people. But it also works really well on Private Vanguard and Private Pteraxadon, because they both have a natural 3 attack value. So when we have this on either one of those 2 characters, we are dealing 3 damage to the defender. But I went ahead and just put 2 copies of Piercing Blaster in the deck. It's not overly important, but it is handy to have. The next card is Force Field. And it's an upgrade armor, and it says if the upgraded character would take 5 or more attack damage, instead scrap this card and the upgraded character takes 4 attack damage. So this is in here. I know we have Vanguard in here, but there will be times where, we don't have the defensive bubble that Vanguard provides, whether he's on the table or in his armor mode, because, there are ways to scrap upgrades. There are times where, for whatever reason, we could be tapped out and Fireflight's not on the table and they're able to attack into Vanguard and knock him out. So we do want to have some sort of backup plan to Vanguard, but I went ahead and just put 2 copies in because, we're going to have a fairly easy time to keep Vanguard protected. And if we are doing what the deck does, Vanguard should be, well protected by himself because of Fireflight and the way that the deck works. And similarly, we do have Medic's Protective Field in the deck. And this is also an upgrade armor, and it says when you put this on a character, you repair 1 damage from it. Now, that may not seem like it's a big deal, but when you have Fireflight only taking, 5 damage, maximum per swing, there's no guarantee that they will be dealing 5 damage to Fireflight. So, if they manage to go first and, they attack into Fireflight and they only manage to deal 1 damage to him, we can go ahead and throw this on him. Even if they only manage to do 2 damage to him, we can put this on him. And that will take him down to 1 damage, which means he has 6 remaining. And since he can only take a maximum of 5, you see where I'm going with that. So, but this will also give our character Safeguard 3, which is a new mechanic where if it's undamaged, the character that is defending can only take 3 maximum damage. So this could be handy on Mirage as well if he's undamaged and we no longer have Vanguard on the table for whatever reason, and they've already taken out Fireflight. There's situations where this will come in handy. So I did go ahead and put 3 copies in because it does heal our characters for 1 damage. And the last upgrade that we'll look at also helps with our health in general, and it is new also. It is from Wave 4, and that is Increased Durability. And this is an upgrade armor with a black icon. So when we flip this, we're going to do 1 pierce damage to the opponent. And the upgraded character gets +4 hit points. Now, the reason why this is in here, and it's actually kind of cool, because if the opponent goes first, they have to attack into Fireflight. Unless they have a character somewhere that says that your opponent can't use Brave for whatever reason. But, more often than not, they're going to be attacking into Fireflight. And when they do that, let's say that they do the full 5 damage to Fireflight. We put this on Fireflight, and his health becomes 11. So they've dealt 5 damage to Fireflight. His health becomes 11. He has 6 health remaining. So they have to attack into Fireflight 2 more times at least to take him out, provided, of course, we do flip that white icon. So this is in here primarily for Fireflight, but we can use this on other characters. But I went ahead and just put 2 copies in because I do have some other cards in the deck that have black icons on them. I want to keep the deck to 40, and I just feel that I don't need a 3rd copy of increased durability. Okay, so those are the upgrades. Now let's take a look at the actions. And the first action that we'll look at is going to help us with some card draw, or get to the cards we need, and it also repairs our characters, and that is Diagnosis. And Diagnosis is an action that says repair 1 damage from one of your characters. And it also says if your starting team was only Autobots, which it is, we draw a card. Repairing 1 damage, again, like I said, may not seem like that big of a deal, but when you're dealing with a method where you're only taking so much damage, healing or repairing for that 1 damage may make all the difference in the world. Plus this, replaces itself. So I put 3 copies of Diagnosis in the deck. Another card that's going to help us get to the cards we need is Backup Plan. And it's an action that says scrap your hand, then draw 3 cards. So, obviously, if we scrap our hand, we're going to get a whole brand new set of 3 cards. And, there may be times where we have 1 card in our hand that we may want to hang on to. But, when we're playing this, we're digging for a card. We're looking for a specific card that we're trying to play on our characters. Obviously, if we play this, unless we flip Mirage, we're only playing the 1 action. So we're going to be trying to dig for upgrades with this. And of course, there's going to be situations where we have, only maybe 1 or even no cards in our hand. So we'll just be drawing 3 cards at that point. So it's pretty powerful in that regard. But I went ahead and just put 2 copies of Backup Plan in the deck. Drawing cards is great, but, it's not the end-all be-all. We don't want too many cards that are going to draw us cards. We want to spend our time, doing other things as well. But as I say that, we do have another card that's going to help us get to the cards we need, and that is Secret Dealings. And this is a card that has a white and a green icon, so we'll be able to grab this when we're battling. And it says draw a card, then plan 1. So this card is really cool in conjunction with Mirage, because this will help us guarantee that the first card that we flip is going to be a white. We do have 32 cards that have white icons on them, but we want to make sure that he's flipping white icons. So this is really strong in that regard. And it's going to help us filter our hand if we have cards that we don't want to use, or we have too many upgrades in our hand, or what have you. So I put 3 copies of Secret Dealings in the deck. The next card's going to help us deal some damage, and that is Surprise Attack. It's an action that says one of your characters gets Pierce 3 until end of turn. Now, this is really the reason why I only had 2 copies of Piercing Blaster in the deck. We can throw this on, one of our smaller characters because, Vanguard and Pteraxadon have 3 natural attack damage or attack value. So this will guarantee that they do 3 damage. Of course, we do have black icons in the deck, so they're probably going to be doing some damage anyway. But, when we want to guarantee that 3 damage, we can throw this on them. This actually works fairly well in conjunction with Piercing Blaster on Mirage as well. You won't get the full 6 Pierce out of it, but if there's a turn where Mirage is going to be attacking twice, you'll be getting this effect twice. So on those types of turns, Mirage is going to be dealing 10 guaranteed damage. So this works really well with Piercing Blaster and Mirage. The next card, probably a no-brainer since we have 2 Battle Masters in the deck, and that is Quartermaster. It's an action that says choose one. Move an upgrade from one of your characters to another one, or put a Battle Master upgrade from your KO area onto one of your characters. Now, this is probably not going to be used for the first ability, maybe with the Javelin, maybe, but this card is in here for its second ability. But we really don't want to see too many of these because, if they're in our opening hand, they're not going to do anything. So I just put 2 copies of Quartermaster in the deck. The next card is a new card, and that is Swerve. It's a secret action with a white and a black icon. And, we play this face down. And when we reveal this when one of our characters in bot mode defends. When this is revealed, we flip that character to alt mode. Now, there is only really one situation that I can think of where we will want to use this for that effect. And I'll go over that here in a little bit. I'm basically going to be explaining certain interactions within the deck because they can be a little bit confusing to newer players. But we're using this pretty much for its icons. This is one of those necessary evil cards, but there is one situation where we would use this. It's very situational, so don't bank on it. But because it has a black and a white icon, I put 3 copies of Swerve in the deck. The next card, really awesome in this deck. That is Designated Target. It's an action with 2 black icons, so that's incredible. But it says each of your characters gets pierced 2 until end of turn. Now, the way that this deck works, we're going to be untapping Mirage a lot. So we're going to be having plenty of opportunities where we have, 2 or more possibly characters untapped while our opponent has no untapped characters. On turns like that, we play this and it will guarantee that all of our characters will deal at least 2 damage. And it's especially double effective on Mirage because he gets to untap if you flip the 3 white icons. So this is just really great. 2 black icons gives our characters pierce. It's awesome. We'll go ahead and put 3 copies in the deck. And the last card, which is probably my favorite card in the new set, that's Involuntary Promotion. It's an action with 1 black icon. And this is kind of wordy, so hopefully you guys can understand this card. But if not, I will be doing some synergistic gameplay, I guess, with this, showing you how the deck works with this shortly after I'm done revealing the battle cards. But this says, choose one of your characters, return another character that has the same number of stars or fewer from your KO area to the battlefield fully repaired. Move the damage counters and upgrades from the chosen character to the returned character. Then KO the chosen character. So I went ahead and put 3 copies of this card in the deck because of how it works in the deck. And now I'll show you how it actually works. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit on how the deck actually plays, because there's a very specific series of events depending on whether you attack first or the opponent attacks you first. And it may be a little bit confusing to some players. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. Now, I'm not going to be playing any battle cards while I'm doing this because I don't want the play area to get congested. But I'll basically show you how this thing goes. So first off, I'll show you what happens when we go first. So let's go ahead and flip Mirage for our first turn. And we attack with Pteraxadon. Now, hopefully we flip, a couple black icons. That would be amazing. But if not, no big deal. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get Pteraxadon knocked out first. So it's your opponent's turn. They play their card. They attack in. We flip our cards. Pteraxadon, we'll say he takes the full 5. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, on our turn, we play an upgrade on Mirage. That will make it so that, hopefully we can stack the top of our deck. Maybe we play Secret Dealings, what have you. But we're going to be attacking with Mirage. And, let's say that we flip the 3 white icons. Well, he's going to trigger, so he will untap. Now it's our opponent's turn again. They have to attack into Pteraxadon again. And they attack into Pteraxadon. We flip our cards. They KO Pteraxadon. Well, he becomes a weapon. And we put it on Mirage. Now it's our turn. Again, we play our cards, and now we go ahead and we attack in with Mirage. We flip our cards, we flip 3 white icons, we trigger both him and this, so we're swinging for 8 and reducing their natural armor to 0. So we're going to be doing quite a bit of damage, and we untap. Now it's our opponent's turn. They have to attack into Fireflight. So he's going to be taking the damage, not Mirage. So we're going to be keeping Mirage well protected thanks to Fireflight. Well, our turn comes. We attack with Mirage. Hopefully we flip the 3 white icons. We trigger, and we do some damage. Our opponent attacks us again. They have to attack into Fireflight. Let's say that they KO Fireflight. Now, on our turn, what do? Well, we don't have Fireflight to, protect us anymore. So if we, attack with Mirage, even if we are the only, if we have the only untapped characters, they're going to be able to attack into Mirage next turn. Well, let's go ahead and play Involuntary Promotion. Now I'm going to go through this card because there may be some players that don't really quite understand how this card works. So what we do is we choose one of our characters. We'll choose this card, okay? And we then return another character that has the same number of stars or fewer from the KO area to the battlefield fully repaired. Okay, so Fireflight has 5 stars. That is equal to Vanguard. So we bring it back fully repaired. Now, I'll go ahead and put that down. Now what we do is it says move the damage counters from the upgrade and upgrades from the chosen character to the returned character. So we take all the damage from Vanguard and we put it on Fireflight. So he'll probably have no damage on him because they haven't had an opportunity to attack Vanguard yet. And then we KO the chosen character. So our chosen character was Vanguard. We KO him and we put him there. Now they may not have any tapped characters, which is fine, but the point is we have Fireflight back. So they're going to have to attack into Fireflight. Now he doesn't have the protective shield of Vanguard anymore. So that's going to be one of the situations where we want to play Force Field or the Medic Field on Fireflight to make sure that he stays upright for an additional turn. So then we go ahead and we attack with Mirage. We untap Mirage. They have to attack into Fireflight. You see how this deck is going. Now that's what happens if we go first. Now what happens if we go second? Well, it's similar, but not quite. So what happens if we go second? Well, the opponent goes first. They have to attack into Fireflight. So, let's say that, they do enough damage so that, next turn Fireflight will go down to Vanguard, or despite of Vanguard being there. So now we attack. Well, what we do is we flip Mirage. We play our upgrade, hopefully on Mirage, and we attack with Mirage. So we trigger Mirage and we untap, and they're forced to attack Fireflight again. Now, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they KO Fireflight at that point. So now we're left with just this. So what do? We go ahead and play Involuntary Promotion again, okay? So we're going to choose Pteraxadon as our character. And Fireflight has fewer stars, so it works. So we bring Fireflight back, and we fully repair Fireflight. We move all of the damage counters, which should be 0. I mean, there are cards that do direct damage, so he may have some damage on him. So, we move all the damage counters. He probably won't have any upgrades, so we're not going to be moving those. But then we KO Pteraxadon. So now, what do? We go ahead and attack with Mirage. Hopefully we trigger Mirage. Untap Mirage. The opponent has to attack into Fireflight again. So that's really, really cool. That's what I saw with this combination of characters. I think it's awesome that it worked out that it was 25 stars. But let's go ahead and look at the situation with Swerve. It's kind of a very situational type scenario. And again, Swerve is a secret action. And it reads, we reveal this when one of our characters in bot mode defends, and we flip that character to alt mode. So we play this down as a secret action, right? Now, we kind of want to have something that signals that it's a secret action because, it's going to have the the same, sleeves as the cards in our hand, and we don't want anybody to get confused, and we want to have a reminder that, we have a secret action on the table, so we're going to go ahead and use a token for that. And really what's going to happen is, let's say that we have Pteraxadon as the scythe, and, Fireflight's probably knocked out at this point, but let's say that, they attack into Mirage, because, they may have characters that don't do a whole lot of damage, and it's better to get Mirage off the table as quickly as possible rather than going after Vanguard, because they can handle Vanguard easy enough, and they're not worried about his bubble. Like I said, very situational scenario. But they attack Mirage, and we reveal Swerve. Okay? So now Swerve's revealed, and we flip Mirage over to alt mode. And when that happens, it says, when you flip to this mode, you may play an action. So what action are we going to play? Again, it's going to be Involuntary Promotion. So we choose Vanguard. We bring Fireflight in. We transfer the damage and whatever upgrades we have to Fireflight. We then put the anti-ballistic turret helmet on Mirage. Now instead of, defending with just 2, he's going to be defending with 4. And also, we're going to be doing 1 damage to the attacker. So if they're at 1 health remaining, the attacker is, they're going to get knocked out. So that's kind of a cool situation. Like I said, doesn't really happen a whole lot. Very situational. But at this point, now, again, they're going to have to attack into Fireflight. So this deck just really causes problems for people. So now that we've looked at the gameplay, let's go ahead and take a look at the sideboard. So the sideboard is also fairly situational. If we go up against orange decks, that's really the decks that we're going to have the most problems with, I think, even though we do have Vanguard, giving us his protective shield. But just the sheer amount of damage is scary from orange decks. So we needed something to either keep pace with that damage or find other ways to mitigate that damage. So the card that I used, the character card that I used in the sideboard, hasn't been getting a lot of love. He really needs some love in some sideboard, so I gave it to him, and that's Autobot Jazz. In alt mode, it says, when this defends against an enemy that doesn't have Pierce, and you flip at least 2 white icons, this can't take more than 2 attack damage this attack. So we're going to be bringing him in for Pteraxadon because we still want to have Vanguard's bubble, but having another character that doesn't take a whole lot of damage is incredible. Now, we got to pay attention to our opponent's deck during the first game, because we need to identify whether or not he has Pierce in the deck, because there are some decks, some orange decks out there that do use cards that either have black icons on them or their characters have a natural Pierce, and in those situations he won't get this. But Jazz is just really strong against orange decks. Now, his bot mode ability probably won't come into play unless we're playing against orange decks that have, characters that have a high natural defense. And it reads, when this attacks and you flip at least 2 white icons, this gets Pierce 2 until after the attack. So, if they have high natural defense, we may flip this, especially if he only has 2 health remaining, just to get that, guaranteed damage. But Jazz works really well with the few cards that we have in the deck that heal, because the more that we heal Jazz, even if it is just for 1, they're going to have to attack into Jazz an additional time just by healing him for 1. Now, I'm not saying that the cards that I put in the main deck were because I had Jazz in the sideboard. That's not the case. But those cards are just really good and are much better once Jazz is, on the table. So Jazz, my boy from Wave 1, is the character for the sideboard. And when we're sideboarding in against orange decks, we want to try to keep up with, their high amount of damage. So this deck actually transitions from a white splash black to a white splash orange deck. And the first card that we'll look at is Erratic Lightning. And it's an upgrade weapon with an orange icon that gives our character +3 attack and -1 defense. And it says a character's defense can't go below 0. So this is actually really good with Jazz because she has natural 0 on both sides. So this is really strong on Jazz because, you know, he doesn't really care how much damage he's going to take. But it's just good in general in this deck because we have Vanguard. You know, our characters are going to be taking maximum 5. So, you know, our defense doesn't really matter a whole lot. But because it gives us +3 attack and we are 9 times out of 10 replacing Pteraxadon with him, we need some more weapons. I put 3 copies of Erratic Lightning in the sideboard. The next card that we have in the sideboard, kind of non-bows with Mirage, but it's just really strong anyway. And that is Grenade Launcher. It's an upgrade weapon with an orange icon that says after the upgraded character attacks, scrap this card. And it gives us +4 attack. So this is just really strong against orange decks. But the reason why it non-bows with Mirage, obviously, is when Mirage attacks and he flips the 3 white icons, he untaps, but we have to scrap this. So it's still +4 attack for 1 turn, and it's strong on anybody that we play this on. I mean, Vanguard, you know, is swinging for 7 with this. I mean, even Fireflight swinging for 5 with this. So it's just strong. So we put 3 copies of Grenade Launcher in the sideboard. And the last upgrade that's in the sideboard is Force Field. It's an upgrade armor, again, that says if the upgraded character would take 5 or more attack damage, instead scrap this card and the upgraded character takes 4 attack damage. You know, we want to prevent as much damage as possible against those orange decks. And like I said earlier in the video, you know, there will be situations where we don't have Vanguard's protective bubble or even Vanguard as an armor on any of our characters. You know, in those situations, we want to have a backup plan to that. So Force Field, you know, it's just kind of a no-brainer. So we put our 3rd copy of Force Field in the sideboard. And the last card that we have is Peace Through Tyranny. And it's an action with 2 orange icons that says you may KO one of your characters that has 6 stars or more. If you do, take an extra turn after this one. So this card will only have 2 targets in our team, that being, you know, either Jazz or Pteraxadon, you know, depending on who's on the table, and Mirage. But it does have 2 orange icons. So, you know, it's with as many cards as we flip, having the 2 orange is awesome. But, you know, early in the game, especially when we have Mirage and Fireflight still on the table, or Mirage and we're forcing the opponent to attack into Jazz, you know, it's really cool to take an extra turn. So we play this and, you know, let's say that, you know, we get rid of Jazz. You know, they have to attack into Fireflight at that point. But we're going to be taking an extra turn, which means, you know, Mirage attacks, untaps, he attacks again, untaps. So this is basically just giving us a free attack with Mirage, which is awesome. But I went ahead and put full 3 copies of Peace Through Tyranny in the sideboard. Okay, guys, that is my first deck using the brand new Siege 2 Wave 4 cards. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. And I'm giving a special shout out to Jamie from Powered by Primus. He is going to be doing some gameplay videos with this deck, and he's going to get back with me about whatever changes he's made or what he thinks he should make, and we may do an update video on this deck. So this deck is super strong. Try it out, trust me. But again, hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, and never forget, it's only jank until it's meta. So take care.